I slipped into the corner market just for a quart of cream and some rye, figuring it'd be a quick in and out on a Tuesday evening that felt as ordinary as they come. But tucked away in the shadowed edge of the lot, beneath a flickering sodium light that hummed like a distant swarm, my daughter edged in close and murmured a handful of words that sliced my days clean in two. Before this revelation, after. I'd mapped out the rest of my week in my head. Quiet dinners, folding laundry to the drone of a podcast, maybe a walk if the clouds held off. None of that stuck. Her quiet confession upended every notion I held about raising her, and, more crucially, about allowing myself the grace of being held in return. Before I dive deeper, do this for me. If you're tuning in from somewhere out there, drop a note below. Where's your spot on the map? Seattle's misty haze? Miami's salty breeze? Boise's crisp mountain air? I'm Elena, pushing 50 now, and I'd love to envision your corner lamps flickering as I relive this dusk. The lot behind the market glows too fiercely for twilight. That sterile yellow wash that strips everything to edges. Potholes, faded stripes, puddles from last night's shower mirroring the overcast sky. My basket rattles like an old friend with a grudge, its wheel catching every divot. The cream chills against my hip, the rye loaf soft and yielding under my arm, plus a bunch of basil and a tin of olives because exhaustion makes even choices like these feel like indulgences. The breeze carries the tang of damp earth and exhaust, whispering of thunder rolling in from the hills. I picture myself pulling into the driveway, flicking on the stove for pasta while the dryer spins and some distant headline drones about wildfires out west. Then, a van door thumps shut 3 spaces away, a sound I'd recognize blindfolded. My daughter's gentle latch, always mindful, like she's easing a sleeping child into bed. Sophia weaves between the rows, hood up against the chill, hands jammed in her jeans, wearing that lopsided grin that echoes her at 7, puzzling over a puzzle with pieces that wouldn't fit. Focused, tender. Her curls are wilder since our last coffee catch-up, and there's a shadow under her eyes I swear wasn't there before. Or perhaps it was, and I've been too wrapped in my own haze to notice. We've both mastered the art of feigning vigor, scrolling past each other's stories with thumbs that lie. "Hey, Mom," she says, the syllable landing like a secret shared. She had this way of turning hellos into gifts she unwrapped for herself. "Just passing through." That's the line you feed when you've rerouted your whole route for this. I wave vaguely, then drop my hand. "Thirsty?" "Grabbed some olives, they're the good ones." "Starving always," she replies, claiming the basket's grip as if it's hers by right. We drift toward my hatchback, steps syncing with the basket's whine. The forecast app buzzed about showers by 8, and it's 7:50 in my veins, the air thickening with that pre-storm weight. You learn to sense these shifts after decades. The curl of a cloud. The cashier's rote, "Take care." The drag of a routine day bleeding into the next. We load the back in our wordless choreography. She hands over, I tuck away. It's the dialect we've honed over years. She spots the fresh scrape along the fender. "You good?" The basket slipped, I mutter, not false but dodging the deeper probe. She means the mom good. Bills stacking like cordwood, nights fractured by worries, the pulse that quickens at shadows. I toy with spilling about the crisp note in my wallet, the clinic's script with figures that etched unease into my midday calm. Or the overdraft alert, the faucet's relentless plink. The solitude that greets me mornings like an uninvited guest pounding at the door. But I settle on. These things have minds of their own. She lets it hang, doesn't prod. That's fresh, or maybe the shift I've overlooked. "I'll take the wheel," she offers, more vow than ask. I pass the fob and she slides the seat forward a notch, her frame mirroring mine these days, all long lines and quiet poise. She leaves the dial on my go-to station, those mellow jazz riffs that soothe rush hour snarls, and chuckles as the host mangles Coltrane with familial warmth. I study her grip on the dash, those fingers that once clutched wildflowers and scribbled valentines, that cradled a fledgling bird she swore she'd mend with popsicle sticks. Steady now, those hands, capable of blueprints, of mending fuses, of swapping filters before they clog. We've idled here, engine purring low, vents cracked to sip the cooling dusk. The lot's glare warms her profile, softening the angles daylight sharpens. Beyond the glass, life's clamor unfolds. A pickup revving sharp, kids testing parallel parks, a worker in high-vis corralling strays like errant sheep. Inside, hush reigns. Just us, mother and daughter, orbiting an unspoken bulk we've sidestepped for seasons. It looms like heirloom furniture, sturdy yet obstructive, blocking the flow. Our last deep dive snagged on thorns, the clash over Grandma's quilt after the service, the promotion she sidestepped to chase horizons uncharted. My tongue too swift with caution, laced with awe. We bridged with chatter, then silence. Texts traded forecasts, bargain alerts, snaps of sunsets from afar. "Mom," she murmurs, softer now, leaning in not for show but to outwit the lot's murmur. Heaters whisper. I catch whiffs of citrus from the dangling freshener I keep forgetting to swap. Her fingertips graze the frayed seam on the console, probing like she once tested a wobbly molar. I've got something to share. The air sharpens when your kid utters that. Even the stuttering bulb pauses. I dip my chin. I'm listening. She eyes my laced fingers, that telltale knot I tie when stealing for storms, a trick she's mirrored, gauging the room before unleashing. She inches nearer, voice a thread for my ears alone. A fat droplet kisses the glass, tracing a silver arc like an invitation. Then, hush just for me. I'm coming home, Mom, so we shoulder this together. 5 syllables, and the hollow in my ribs expands, exhaling dust I'd stockpiled unaware. I hadn't clocked the clutter. Words evade me at first. The cabin fills with petrichor sneaking through the slit, mingled with the faint lemon of our shared soap, the bargain bottle that lingers. My swallow sticks, echoing the hitch when I first strapped her into the infant seat, fumbling latches in a haze of joy and jet lag. The knot in my gut as she boarded the bus for camp, backpack slung defiant. I'm not one for easy floods. Time carves you that way, tears a splurge like lingered baths or silk scarves. But heat pricks before reason rallies. What are you saying? It emerges frail, a whisper chasing its tail. She presses her temple to the dash, exhaling a breathy laugh, the one that betrays nerves. Just what it sounds like. Cleared it with work. The office here's a straight shot away. Nabbed a month-to-month spot figuring you'd balk. Kept quiet till the ink dried. I'm in, if you are. Another bead races the first down the pane. The tuner croons a velvet standard from decades past, urging patience in velvet tones. My mind flips to the wallet's fold, those metrics I shied from decoding, too timid for searches that might confirm shadows. The text grin, polished yet distant, like a script for the uneasy. The stool at breakfast I skirt, the bulb I eye warily from below, the echo that clings post-sunset. You've built your world, I counter, reflex armoring up. Your circle, your spark. I won't dim that for my sake. She pivots, measured but unyielding, and there, my girl overlaid with the woman she's woven, fierce and fond in equal measure. You sparked it all. Nights you pulled graveyard, patching leaks with gum and grit. Truths you doled out raw, no sugar. You figure I can't shuffle a desk and a zip code to stand with you now? Her shake softens. This isn't duty. It's choice. Mine. The version of me from 30 years back would have sparred from sheer inertia, convinced affection demands overreach, that equilibrium's a myth. At 50, that equation fatigues me. Weariness isn't surrender, though. It's the pause before pivot. I rummage my core for the ledge to perch her pledge, steadying it. When did this click? I venture. She curves a smile, toothless, echoing her grandpa's when he'd broached the tender barbs. From your casual drop about the checkup, spotting you stretch for the high rack last month, all stealth, realizing our pings were just sky reports and sales flyers, made me mull what we'd built or buried. Pride's fear dressed fancy, and the math didn't add. So I rewrote it, a chuckle bubbles unbidden, snagging on a flashback. Her at 14, shrugging off my ride to the prom, then paging me from the curb, heel snapped, craving the emergency kit's glue in my console. Pride and patches are lineage etched. You're locked in? I press. Not some urge to mend me like that finch you bandaged with yarn? That bird was all fight and fractured wing, she quips. You've got fire and solid footing. Not mending, just alongside. The downpour builds, stippling the hood in Morse, suspending us in a luminous bubble amid the lot's glow. We linger in the cocoon's glow, the world a blurred seascape of beams. She sketches the switch. The desk 3 blocks off, the loft with sills that catch dawn's gold, the futon she scored for its thrift, practical as the thrift I modeled. The ferns she doomed in her zeal to green thumb. She stresses the trial run, no chains, won't invade unless welcomed. Honors my quirks, even the daft ones. Jars lined by size, not logic, my talisman against chaos. She's been journaling prompts with a counselor bi-weekly, unpacking the psyche like attic boxes, fortifying where it counts. I botched it post-grandma's, she admits. Regrets my vow now, not just words. I absorb. She's ever boomed with mirth, hushed with schemes. Guess she's mastered hauling the hidden to sun. Pride swells, a garment tailored true, warming without bind. Recall when you were 8, I murmur, insisting on solo skates at the pond? She tilts. Begged you hover, then fumed when you vanished mid-lap. Livid till you pointed out you'd looped the rink unseen. She eases into the rest, rain veils racing rivulets. You never vanish. Just shadow the turns. A compact truth, but it nudges my guarded core, yielding space. I bridge the console, palm over her clasp. Warmth pulses. We mesh there, lineage linked in a hush that's symphony, not void, mending subtle score. Won't saddle you, I repeat, the phrase a stubborn root. She inclines, not to clash, but affirm. You won't, you'll be my anchor. Nuance matters. Sheets of rain cascade, veiling the vista like a sudsy veil, but we're anchored. She flicks the blades. Clarity returns, unveiling the undeniable. My path's gained an ally's grasp. Perhaps that's the alchemy, not the map, but the mercy to release the solo helm. And if I lean in? I test, not trial, but tasting the term's heft before entrusting tomorrow's. We ease, she assures. Inventory the ifs. Bicker the priorities, grin through. Voice the jitters. Practice passing the ladder. Inhale. Oxygen reshapes claimed at last. I conjure her perch, dawn spilling over thresholds like unearned bounty. A lazy brunch scanning funnies for the fun. Debating dips for hummus. Me perched as another hauls the hall. Not conquest or coddle, but kinship's quiet right. The mirror snags my gaze. I hold it. Creases map the miles, but so do Nana's arch and Pop's set jaw. Weary, sure, but primed to lighten the load. All right, I breathe. Petite, but potent. The snap of a latch, the bolt's reassuring thunk. All right, no fanfare, no badge. She presses my knuckles, reclaims the dash at proper poise, echoes of her road test echoing. Loop the back streets, she suggests. Let the squall strut, we ease forth, rubber sighing on sheen. Lamps bloom Orioles. The hive-as herder tips a nod. I mirror kin and unglamorous toils. The ramp pulses green, and we linger a beat. Sashes ajar, inhaling ozone laced with herb and horizon. Uncertainties linger. The tugs ahead, the grooves to smooth. Pride'll polish its boots, urging retreat. But I've a vista now, us in a nook galley, light draping like gilt ribbon. Sophia chuckling at a quip on airwaves. Me nudging a succulent that's outlasted odds. I cradle it like chamomile in chill winds, palms cupped to chest. We veer right onto the vein, winding my block to hers, borders blurring soon. The torrent tapers. Reality sharpens. Head lolls to head rest as the dash thrums, and I gift myself the grace once hoarded for her. Love's no ledger. You claim it unearned. We ghost the apothecary's glow, the bistro's persistent flicker, the fix-it shop where the clerk divines your bolt from a breath. The sprawl softens to crisp, a reminiscence ripe for retain. I widen the pane. Mist kisses skin. Beside, Sophia drums the rim to a signal stutter and reclaim. She glances. I incline. Dialogue distilled for the dusk. If your town's a stranger to me, weave your own halos into this pane's gleam. Picture how tempests polish the plain to pearl. Envision a phrase that shifts your setup, carving space to settle. That's her murmur's magic. That's my assent. And in this languid circuit, an ancient grip loosens. Not frailty, but fellowship at the helm. As we glided from that lot, lungs full at last, I sensed it was merely the inhale to a broader rhythm. The shower eased to spits, wipers whispering final farewells across the pane. Sophia's pledge lingered, etched soft but indelible, akin to a fossil in silt. Coming home. It looped my thoughts, heart-lagging ears in trust. Night hues shifted per post, the realm hushed yet vast, as if shutters swung wide where blinds once bit. We claimed the scenic detour per her nudge. I traced the parade of haunts, facades aglow or slumbering, harboring tales alien to mine. Yet amid their mystery, isolation ebbed. Absent for ages, I'd logged these lanes solo countless dusks. Engines murmur my sole consort, preaching self-reliance as survival's crown. Needlessness the victor's wreath. But now, her sure hold guiding admission dawned. I'd lingered in vigil, awaiting the nudge that fortitude folds in aid. At amber halt, she muted the jazz, courting quiet's embrace. Dashboard's teal etched her silhouette riper than I'd wish, yet not mournful. Serene, a ballast her youth lacked. Fleetingly, I pondered if her return served dual tides, mine and hers unspoken. "Mom," she ventured gaze forward. "You recall the graveyard runs? Dropping me at Cousin Lila's where I'd crash on her divan?" Tone dipped. "Never shook how you'd peel out, lids drooping like wilted leaves. How'd you summon it?" The scene unfurled vivid, her cherub cheek smudged on frost, palm print blooming on chill, salute fading to doze. "Necessity's whip," I replied. "Mom's muster," she drummed deliberate. "Kid me figured you forged from sterner alloy invincible. Pivot complete. Now, you're flesh and I won't watch you haul solo from habit. Verdant cue, but I drifted." Her insight draped warm, a bolster. Needful's one grace. Witnessed rarer gold. Home loomed, storm spent. Drive gleamed under arc varnish of wet sheen. She slotted neat, silenced the hum, and paused in the hush, as if the shell we'd spun cocooned candor from haste. "Haul these?" she queried, chin to the hold. Faint curve. "Bet you'd nix it?" Chuff shared, we braved the broom. Bags bridged threshold. Galley wafted stale brew and sage from the wick I'd kindled to dispel noon's pall. As she plunked payloads, fancy flickered, her woven into week's weave, not transient but thread. Odd balm, like unearthing a lullaby lodged deep, lyrics instinctive, we sorted soundless. Cream to sill, rye to bin, basil bound, olives oiled. Ritual rich with import, order from disarray. Bags limp, Sophia braced the edge, gaze prompting posture. Prep for gale? Nay, gentle. "Mom, when the moment ripens, unpack the clinic. The vigils. The unspeakables. No sprint, just share the load." Seasons schooled me to bundle woes like spares unseen. Yet here, entreaty to air them, co-carry the crush. Throat banded, not dread, but dawn's pang, mature bonds bear the brittle, incline. I will, firm yet hushed. Portions, perhaps. But yes, no nudge. She claimed the loaf, sheared duo, slotted to glow. Levers snap, heats sigh, grains toast, mundane miracle. Vanilla night unadorned my right, fingers grazed in pass. Smile bloomed. Plain sufficient. We supped mute, fixtures drone a lullaby, outer realm rain-wrapped. In that interlude, epiphany, not her phrase alone transfigured the lot. Her intent, the evolution to peer, not pedestal. Watching her savor crust, certainty settled. Henceforth our tapestry tweaks. And for the first span in spans, thrill trumped tremor. Hope's ember kindled. We lingered over crumbs, the clock's tick a gentle prod, but neither stirred for dishes or dusk's demands. Sophia wiped her hands on a dishcloth, mine, faded floral from a decade back, and leaned to refill our waters from the pitcher I'd chilled with lemon wedges that afternoon. The slices bobbed like tiny rafts, and I watched them, thinking how life tosses us all adrift sometimes, but anchors appear when we least expect. "You know," she said, sliding the glass my way, "I didn't just decide this on a whim. It started small. That call about your labs? It hit like a brick. But then I replayed the little things, the way you dodged questions about the roof leak or how your laugh sounded thinner on our last video chat. I sipped, the tang cutting cool. Honesty like that could sting, but hers landed soft, an invitation rather than indictment. I've been managing, I admitted, tracing the rim. The numbers aren't dire, but they're a nudge. Reminders that the body's not as forgiving at my age. And the house? It's held up, but so have I, mostly by ignoring the cracks." She nodded, not with pity, but partnership, her eyes reflecting the pendant light like twin moons. "That's the thing, Mom. You've ignored them so well I almost bought it too. But I'm done pretending we're islands. We're a chain, links, not lone floats." Her metaphor settled, sturdy. I thought back to her toddler tantrums, how I'd scoop her up, whispering we'd weather it linked arm in arm. Now roles rippled, but the bond endured. "All right then," I said, setting the glass down with purpose. First link, the roof guy quotes triple what I budgeted. Second, those labs mean more scans, and insurance plays games. She didn't flinch, just pulled out her phone, thumbing notes. "Send me the quote. I'll crunch numbers, I've got that side app for budgets. And scans, we'll map the appointments around my shifts. Team effort, it was that simple, that seismic." We plotted there at the counter, scribbling on a napkin, dates circled, costs tallied, a loose plan for her loft hunt that prioritized proximity over polish. Laughter crept in when she mimicked the roofer's gravelly pitch, and I countered with a tale of my own bungled DIY attempt at patching the shingles last spring, ending in a ladder slip and a bruised ego. The kitchen filled with our voices, overlapping like a duet long rehearsed but rarely sung. Outside the night deepened, stars pricking through thinning clouds, but inside, warmth built from more than the bulb's glow. As the hour tipped past 10, Sophia glanced at her watch, a slim band I'd gifted her for her 25th, engraved with a wave for the adventures she'd chased. I should head out early meeting tomorrow. But this? She gestured between us the napkin battlefield. This is just the start. I walked her to the door, the floorboards creaking underfoot like old confidants sharing secrets. On the stoop, under the porch light's amber pool, she hugged me fierce, her chin hooking my shoulder. Drive safe, I murmured, echoing 1,000 good nights. Always, she replied, then paused. And Mom? Thanks for saying yes. Felt like unlocking a door I'd forgotten was there. She vanished into her van, taillights winking farewell down the lane. I closed the door soft, leaning against it, the wood cool at my back. The house hummed quieter now, but not empty. Echoes of her lingered in the air, the faint citrus on my sleeve, the napkin still clutched like a talisman. Upstairs, I bypassed the routine scroll through feeds, opting instead for the bedside stack. A novel half read, its pages dog-eared at a chapter on reinventions. But sleep evaded, mind replaying the lot's hush, her whispers wait. Not dread this time, but a flutter. Anticipation, like the hush before a favorite track drops. Dawn crept early, gray light filtering my blinds as I brewed strong, the machine's gurgle a morning mantra. Sophia texted at 7 sharp, loft lead, views of the park, walkable to you. Coffee run later? I thumbed back, black, 2 sugars, and yes. By 9, we met at the corner cafe, steam rising from mugs as we pored over listings on her screen. The barista's chatter wove around us, a couple arguing playlists at the next table, but our bubble held, plans solidifying, jokes punctuating the practical. She shared snippets of her sessions, how voicing the funeral rift had untangled knots she'd carried unwitting, how strength wasn't hoarding hurts but having them. I countered with my own unvoiced admissions, the quiet terror of empty nests, the guilt of gaps where Dad's absence gaped. Tears threatened once, but we let them bead, unashamed, wiping with napkins that smelled of vanilla syrup. Weeks blurred into a rhythm rekindled. Her lease locked mid-month, a cozy, airy 2 turns from my drive. High ceilings, a nook for her drafting board, windows framing the river's bend. Move-in day dawned crisp, boxes stacked like promises. I hauled what I could, her protesting lightly as we Tetrised shelves, unearthing relics, her childhood sketchpad, filled with fantastical beasts we'd colored together. A jar of sea glass from a beach trip when she was 10, waves crashing as we hunted treasures. Remember how you swore this green one's a mermaid scale? She laughed, holding it to light. And I believed you because you said it fierce. We paused amid the chaos, glass chiming soft, and I saw it clear. Belief's a bridge we build bidirectional. Evenings wove us tighter. Tuesdays became our stakeout, market runs morphing to shared carts, debating cuts of cheese or the merits of heirloom over hybrid. She'd tease my alphabetic spice rack, OCD or Oracle? And I'd retort with her mismatched socks, a holdover from dorm days. Dinners stretched, her stir-fries laced with chilies that made us gasp and grin, my slow-simmered stews she devoured with stories of office quirks. One night, rain lashing panes anew, we unearthed Dad's old vinyls from the attic dust, spinning tales to the needle's scratch, his gravel baritone belting standards. Her harmonizing off-key, me conducting with a wooden spoon. Laughter drowned the storm, and in its wake, confessions flowed. My fears of fading relevance, her wrestle with roots versus Rome. You're not fading, she insisted, arm slung my shoulder. You're the root that lets me branch. The clinic follow-up loomed that Friday, a sterile suite with charts charting cells I'd rather ignore. Sophia cleared her slate, waiting in the lobby with a dog-eared magazine and a thermos of broth. Her remedy ritual, learned from my sickbed vigils. Results? Benign shadows, vigilance prescribed, no sirens. Relief washed, but her presence amplified it. Hand in mine as we exited to sun-slant streets, ice cream cones procured on impulse, vanilla flecked with fudge-like freckles. To clean slates, she toasted, paper cup raised. And messy ones, too. Months mounted, marking shifts subtle yet profound. Pride's polish dulled. I climbed fewer ladders solo, her wrench-turning bolts I once cursed. Arguments arose, her chaos clashing my order, my hesitations hurting her impatience, but they aired quick, resolved with walks along the river, stones skipped into current carrying grudges. She bloomed too. Promotion pursued without apology. Dates navigated with candor I'd envied in youth. One autumn eve, leaves carpeting paths like gilded confetti, she confided a spark, a colleague with kind eyes and a laugh like hers. Scary, she admitted, crunching foliage. But good scary. Like your yes that night. I squeezed her mittened hand. Dive, I've got the net, Winter whispered in, frost etching pains, but our hearth burned steady. Holidays dawned deliberate, a tree trimmed with mismatched orbs, her strings of lights tangled till we howled. Feasts where we alternated sinks, suds, and stories flowing equal. New Year's ticked under a quilt fort in her loft, champagne flutes fizzing as we toasted the year shed, the one unfurling. To anchors, she murmured. And sails. Spring thawed us further. My garden, long neglected, greened under dual trowels, her enthusiasm outpacing my lore, weeds yanked with glee. We planted basil amid banter, her forecasting pesto hauls. Evenings found us on her balcony, city hum below, stars pricking velvet, sharing silences rich as symphonies. One such dusk, fireflies winking like errant thoughts, she turned, profile gilded. Mom, that whisper in the lot? It wasn't just for you. It pulled me back too, from drifting to docking. We're better tethered, Truth echoed, profound. I'd chased self-sufficiency as shield, but she'd unveiled it porous. Love's lattice, woven wide. No longer solo sentinel, I stood sentinel shared, vulnerabilities voiced, strengths sundered. The woman in the mirror? Lines lingered, but eyes sparked, cheekbones high with heritage, mouth curved in quiet claim. And so, as seasons cycled, that parking lot's lamp flickered in memory, not endpoint, but epicenter. A pivot where whispers wrought worlds, where yes unlocked yields. If your streets hold similar halos, know this. Sometimes the ordinary ordains the extraordinary. A cart's rattle, a door's hush, a leaned-in breath. Room made for rest, for reach, for the radical act of being met midway. That's the legacy her words etched. Not erasure of alone, but alchemy, alone yet allied. Forever reshaped, gratefully so. Summers simmered soon after, heat waves rippling the asphalt like mirages of what-ifs we'd sidestepped. Sophia's loft became our unofficial outpost, its door ajar more often than latched, her keyring now bearing a spare to mine, a quiet covenant forged over late-night teas when worries wandered wakeful. One muggy July twilight, thunder grumbling distant like a disgruntled neighbor, we sprawled on her thrift store rug, fans whirring lazy circles, sorting photos from a box I'd unearthed in the garage. Faded Polaroids curled at edges, her gap-toothed grin astride a trike, me hoisting her high at a county fair, cotton candy melting pink down chins, Dad's shadow in frames, arm slung casual, his wink frozen mid-laugh. Look at you, tiny terror with a lollipop empire, she teased, holding one aloft. I chuckled, but the ache bloomed familiar, a bruise tendered by time. We were unstoppable then. You demanding the Ferris wheel despite the lines. Me bargaining extra spins with sheer will. She traced a print, finger lingering on our linked hands. Unstoppable still, just evolved. Remember the fairs last year when the rain hit mid-ride? We huddled under that awning, you promising it'd clear because moms know these things. It did, eventually. Her gaze met mine, steady. You've always known, even when it felt like bluff. That night, as storms cracked overhead, we traded tales till the air hummed electric. Hers of city escapades gone awry, mine of early morn shifts where coffee was confessor. Vulnerability vented, not as vice but virtue, bonds burnished brighter. Come August, her spark with the colleague, Lena, sharp-witted architect with a penchant for rooftop picnics, flickered to flame. I met her over backyard grill, smoke-curling tales of blueprints and bad puns, Sophia's glow undimmed by my once-guarded gaze. She's a keeper, I whispered later, as we washed dishes side by side. Like you. Blush crept. Pride swelled mutual. Fall foliage framed new forays, leaf-peeping drives upstate, thermos of cider steaming windows, debates on best routes dissolving to detours for pie. One crimson-canopied afternoon, parked at an overlook where valleys unfolded like quilted maps. Sophia unpacked a parcel from her pack. A leather-bound journal, pages blank save an inscription. For the unsaid now said. To Mom, my mirror and map. Tears pricked, unbidden but unbound. Kept meaning to, she said sheepishly. For your stories, the ones you bottled for my sake. I clutched it, spine creasing under thumb. And yours. We'll fill it tandem.